But yeah, I was very impressed, and I was also impressed that it's the third oldest stadium.
Yeah.
The oldest stadium.
You I don't know if you were at Boston. I forget which one's older, Boston or Chicago.
I'll Google it.
The Cubs, one of those two. It's by like 6 months or something like that. But
Oldest baseball stadium is the Boston Red Sox.
there you go. But the Dodger Stadium is only older than not Yankee, Angel Stadium by like 3 months. Like they finished it like 3 months before the Angel Stadium.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's crazy is in the National League, the Rockies Stadium here in Colorado, which
Okay.
I like. It was built in my lifetime, and I'm 32, so not
Yeah. Yeah. It's not that old. Yeah.
Yeah, it was built in my lifetime. It's the third oldest in the National League, which
Okay.
means it goes Cubs, Dodgers, and then Rockies.
And then Rockies. And like you said, it's not even that old. Like that was a new stadium, fairly new stadium.
30 years ago or so.
Yeah. So that's crazy fun. All right. I'm gonna start Audacity. On this episode of Bantha Milk Podcast, we get the start of a revolution. No, we don't. All right, we'll have to do that again. Darn it. Intro music. Intro music. Stop. No. Stop. Stop it. Stop it. There we go.
It doesn't understand what you're saying.
I know it doesn't. It's. I love when Dan is like, "Hey Google," during the podcast. It cracks me up. What's going on? Now it's not doing anything. Record. Not there. Oh my goodness. Ryan's not ever coming back on the show again. He's like, "You're
never ever,
never ever." Yes, I am an amateur. I take great pride.
Been for like 2 years.
Yes, that's how much of an amateur I am. We've been doing it for 2 years, and I still can't figure it out. Oh Jesus Christ! Hey, Zeus.
Don't say his name.
I know. I apologize.
What you always say to me?
That is what I say to you. Yeah. On this episode of Bantha Milk Podcast, the start of a revolution. Intro music.
Wait, that's not it.
What? He's no good to me, Dad.
Intro music. Intro music.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
You know what's even more complicated than bounty hunting? Starting a revolution.
And starting a podcast.
And starting a podcast. That's right. What were you going to say, Cameron?
You know what's even more difficult?
What?
Baking,
yes. So we have a special guest here. I have two special guests here. One, back again. Well, you're both back again. Cameron's been here numerous times, but back again as my co-host because Cameron's going to flake out on us real soon because she didn't, unless she wants to stay. You don't watch the episode at all, so you don't have much to add once we get into it.
Amateur here.
You are the real amateur. My daughter Cameron is here, and Ryan Gilbert Harden, RGH, pew, 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 from the Earz-up, what's that thing called? Discord page.
There we go.
Oh, I see the
Extended universe.
Behind you. Was that there last time?
Yeah, he just didn't have as much light on him back there.
There we go. So Ryan is here again because Nicholas is still doing brand new infant baby stuff. And Ryan's old hat at that now. His kid's like 2 months old.
Exactly.
And my kid is here. So there we go. So welcome, Ryan. How are you, sir?
I am great. It is the best time of the year. We got Marvel going on.
Yes.
We got all the nerd shows going on. Plus, we got all the sports are going on. We got hockey. We got baseball. Mm-hmm. Everything's good.
Start of hockey. Baseball are in the playoffs. My team is in the playoffs for the first time in 11 years. Yeah, it never happens. Ryan's team is, they're always in the playoffs. Whatever.
At this point, it's a given.
It's a given. They just go through the first 182 games just for fun because they're like, we're going to keep playing, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's spring. That's their spring training.
Yeah.
180
Yeah,
days
exactly.
of spring training. Cameron, move it a little bit. The mic, turn it. Nope, turn it towards you. There we go.
I
All
did
right,
it.
there you did it. So the Phillies are finally back in the playoffs. We swept the St. Louis Cardinals in 2-game sweep, which was a lot of fun because I thought for sure we were going to come home after losing 2 games. What makes it even more fun, now I don't know how you feel about this, Ryan, because you're West Coast fan, so it really doesn't affect you, but the Mets lost in the first round, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
For every Phillies fan, it's amazing. The Mets are great at notoriously blowing it at the end of seasons. And this one, they did it twice.
Yep.
They had the NL East up by like 11 games, and then said, "Nah, we'll let the Braves win it for the 37th time or something ridiculous." Them winning the NL East is like the Dodgers being in the World Series. It just always happens. And then they lost, in the first round in the wild card round also. So they went home early twice. So to the Mets. We just lost 3 viewers now because they were Mets fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 of our
Sorry,
Mets coordinates.
So before we start, the reason why Cameron is here, I almost forgot to do this last week because of Ryan luckily reminded me, but we're going to talk about all our social medias and we're going to crack open some Bantha milk while we're here. So social medias for all of my friends out there, please check us out on Twitter at Bantha Milk, Instagram Bantha Milk Podcast, Facebook Bantha Milk Podcast. Check out our other group page, Sacred Jedi Texts. That's always fun. People post silly things like memes in there of Star Wars memes, and that's a fun time. Like, subscribe, comment down below on our YouTube page, wherever you watch or listen to all of our podcasts. Please, if you can, give us a rating of 5 or 4 stars, because we're that awesome. And Earz-up, that's our parent organization. They send us lots of things. We get nothing from them except for a little bit of publicity, but it doesn't matter. Jason doesn't listen to this anyway.
Never.
Speaking of not listening to, since Jimmy doesn't listen to this show very, very often, I'm just going to keep calling you Robert, Ryan, because that's what I'm calling you on the Supreme Resort.
Yep, those Supreme Taco Boys.
The Supreme Taco Boys. Ryan won a contest over there, and Jimmy, the one co-host, kept calling him Robert.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
he got the two of us confused. I understand how. I mean, with Ryan's dashing good looks and everything, I look just like him.
I mean, your beards are practically the same length.
I know, right? Did you know, Cameron,
Oh, dear goodness.
about Ryan's beard? Ryan's beard is NHL famous.
What?
It is.
It
That
is.
It is.
Ryan was on a giant billboard. Is this correct? In
Yeah.
Colorado? Please tell us all about this.
Yeah. So I actually have a good friend who was beard famous before me. So I joined the competitive bearding community a while back. I don't really do it as much anymore. Really cool community, all for charity, all that good stuff. But one of the guys who's local here in Colorado, he's actually from the DC area, and he's famous for styling his beard like for the caps. So he's written the word caps in it. He's done like the capitals W, all kinds of stuff. So he was in Colorado, and we went to see the Avs play the Caps. And so he helped me style my beard to say Avs and his to say Caps. And during that game, a picture was taken of me that is now heavily used by the Colorado Avalanche. Actually, last I checked, they were using it for their happy hour promotion this year.
So I know the guy who is spokesperson for the for the Colorado Avalanche. Not really spokesperson, but they use this picture. So I know that guy. And then another weird, I don't know this guy as well as I know RGH, because RGH and I are like besties now. But the Phillies used to have, when we were in the old stadium, there was all of these like fan clubs for the different players.
Okay.
The most famous one was the Wolf Pack, because the pitcher's last name was Randy Wolf. His last name was Randy Wolf. So they created the Wolf Pack, and all these guys had Wolfman masks on, and they all were in the we call it, there was the 700 level was the top level. They had a giant banner that said the Wolf Pack, and every time he got a strikeout, they would do some kind of like, I think it was like the
Like Thriller.
Thriller, yeah, like the Wolfman like Thriller type thing. Years later, I had partial season ticket plans for the Phillies, and the guy sitting next to me was the guy who created the Wolf Pack, and he goes, "Oh, by the way, I used to be the creator of the Wolf Pack." We're like, "What?" He was like,
That's awesome.
yeah. So he went. They gave him like tickets. He went to like during the playoff run. It was like I want to say like maybe 93 or something like that. Like when we were really good. We're really good once every 2 decades.
I was gonna say,
Yeah. So like 93 year. I think that's when Randy Wolf was there. Maybe it was a little bit later, but they like bought the Phillies bought the Wolf Pack like tickets to go to a couple like playoff games, away games, and things like that. And
That's cool.
so it was really, really cool. So I, at one point, sat next to the guy who was that guy. And now on this podcast, I'm sitting next to that guy who was that guy for the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah.
I knew that guy who knew that guy.
Yeah.
well, and I have 2 sports fandom like claims to fame. The other one, I took an Iron Man suit and I painted it green and where it should all be red.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I ended up on ESPN
Oh.
on like the lead into Sports Center at one point.
Nice.
Because I would wear it to Colorado State football games, Colorado State
Okay.
University, which their colors are green and gold. So it was a green and gold Iron Man. I called it Iron Ram.
There
and,
you go.
Yeah, I was on one of the bowl games we went to. I think it was the New Mexico Bowl.
Nice.
I was on the lead in to
That's awesome.
Sports Center that night.
That's awesome. So there we go. If you wanted to know how famous RGH was, you now know.
Yeah, just tangentially, no one ever actually sees my real face. Famous.
No, but you're that famous. All right, so let's crack open, and then as we're cracking this open, Cameron's going to talk about why she's here, other than just to laugh at us. But I went out today just for this, and I was looking for something that would have been green because there was a green drink in today's show. Everything that was green was a double IPA. And I was like, okay, it's a Thursday, and I want to finish the podcast without slurring or looking like a complete moron. So I didn't get any double IPAs.
You also
But
have work.
And I have work on Friday. Yeah, that thing too. But I did find some 21A, which is hard to find in the New Jersey area. Coaster Pills. So I was very excited to support the 21st Amendment that supports Earz-up. I get nothing out of it. I didn't even get this for free. I paid for it. So there you go. I support 21A. So I will crack this. There we go. And now it's your turn, RGH.
Nice. Hey, if Jason actually randomly decides to listen to this one, he'll be really jealous of you. He was just talking on Discord about how he hasn't been able to find Coaster Pills enough.
Oh, I should sell it to him.
There you go. Ship it back across the country. Yeah, so I didn't even think about the green. I should have, because I think I might have something else around here. But I'm drinking Drumroll Hazy IPA from Odell Brewing Company. They're local here in Fort Collins, Northern Colorado area.
Okay.
This beer has changed its name a whole bunch of times. It's always been Drumroll, but like the type of IPA has changed over time. So it's kind of an old favorite of mine.
There you go. All right. Well, let's drink up. Cheers. And what a great episode where we see the start of a revolution, I keep saying. But truthfully,
I'm drinking air.
Cameron has air because she is not old enough. But Cameron is here for an even more fun and important reason. Go ahead, Cameron. Tell us why you're here.
Well, obviously I'm a fan favorite. So that's one of the reasons.
That is right. Our viewership goes up every time Cameron's here.
Also, my father recently bought me. Well, technically he bought it for himself, and then he made me do it. But he bought me this Star. It's not working.
Turn it again. Now you're breaking everything. Oh my goodness! It fell over.
Oh
Push
no!
microphone down.
Hello.
Technical difficulties.
There you go. Now turn it.
This way.
Yeah, that way. Perfect.
Okay, I did it. Okay,
There you go.
So he bought me. I don't know what I did.
I don't know either.
It fell out of the hole. Anyways, he bought me this Star Wars baking book. Where'd you buy it? Amazon?
Well, yes, because Barnes & Noble was $10 more than it was on Amazon, so
God.
save some money there.
And as I was scrolling through it, oh goodness gracious, I originally found. I don't know if I can find it. I'm on the spot. This is not helpful. Okay, I originally found BB-8 cupcake cake pops, but they didn't have the proper colors at ShopRite, so we had to what's the word?
Compromise
Compromise. That
Yeah.
one. We had to compromise, and we ended up
and improvise. We compromised
Improvised.
and improvised.
I like you're saying we. I did.
You
this.
did this.
And we made R2D2 cupcakes.
Little
instead.
R2D2
Oh, those are
cupcakes.
fantastic. Nice.
So it's chocolate cake because my father likes chocolate cake.
Truth.
Not for me. And then it's a cake pop on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Nice.
So cake pop on top with hard chocolate wrapped around it,
Mhm.
and then the best decorating that she could do with the limited colors that they had at
Two
ShopRite.
colors.
All they had, there was no silver or anything, so she tried her best with blue and black. So it kind of looks like
I put
R2D2. I'll
black
give it to
in
her.
the white chocolate.
Yeah.
Hopefully make it
Hey,
a
I
little
like
more
it.
dry.
Nice. It looks
I
great.
don't have any. I just ruined
You'll have to ship it across country over to me.
one.
I shipped it with
Colorado.
the 1A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the Rado.
It's really good.
Mm,
I'm so good at this.
you are very good. Thank you very much, Cameron. They're delicious. I'm going to keep eating it when Ryan is talking today. So,
I'll be here all night. I don't know about that.
okay. So we have that. And then we went through the social media. Where is the news? Oh, here it is. Okay. I have some Star Wars news.
Nice.
There we go. All right. So I have three things of Star Wars news. The first one, and I'm sure, Ryan, you already heard about this because I know you're a big park fan, but the park is jacking up their prices.
Yes, they are.
And
Unfortunately, Star Wars is impacted.
And Star Wars is impacted. Yes, it is. So how many lightsabers have you built from Savi's workshop?
I have two. I was actually looking because I was trying to reset up this back area to be a little bit less parky because I had park pops back there for doing walkabout, but
Okay.
trying to make it a little bit more Star Warsy, and I can't find my elemental nature one from Savi's. It's somewhere in a box somewhere after moving, but this is power and protection.
Okay.
Protection.
Right. Excellent. So Ryan has two Savi's workshop lightsabers. I have one. It's right behind my head. I forget which one I got. It was the one that kind of looked like a Sith one.
Oh, okay.
I forget what it's called. But so I did that. But now, if you want to do it, and when I did it, it was fun. It used to be $219 for the experience. And it was definitely worth it. Well, Disney worth it.
Yeah.
Because if you were to buy one of the legacy lightsabers and then the blade on top of it, you're spending close to $200 for a regular legacy lightsaber hilt and blade. So you're spending almost $200 or over $200 for that. So for another $20, you can make your own custom one all by itself, and you get the experience of having the person from Batu telling you all about how these are leftover junk pieces, and you're not supposed to say the word lightsaber, and blah blah blah. And it really immerses you in. First, you take this hilt and you do this, and you're like way into it, and you want to be completely cosplayed out while you're in there because you want to feel like you're in the movie building your own lightsaber. So it's a great experience. I love it. I had a lot of fun, and it was totally, I don't want to say totally worth it, but it was Star Wars Disney worth it at $219. Now they're jacking the prices up to $250.
Yeah. I think even at $250, it's still best bang for buck in the land, right?
Yeah.
I think so. I've done, because the droids, which I'm assuming we'll talk about here in a minute.
Yep.
I've done, each me and my wife have done 2 of those now.
Okay.
And yeah, I think as far as money you spend, for the experience, I think Savi's is the best bang for buck. $250 is pushing it though.
Right. And it's a solid piece too.
Oh yeah. They're metal, they're not plastic, they're
they're
strong.
They're strong, they're heavy. You know, like you feel like it's a real lightsaber. If there was such a thing as a real lightsaber, this feels like it could be a real lightsaber. Because I remember when Trey, my oldest, was really young, the first time he went to Star Wars, he built his own one of the little plastic ones.
Yeah.
And they were they felt just like the plastic ones that you would buy at Target or Walmart or whatever, but you could build your own. So that was fun. It was also a lot cheaper, and it felt a lot cheaper. So this one definitely felt like it was a real tool, like a real lightsaber. So that was pretty cool. And then, as you said, you built 2 of the droids, and the droids are going up as well. They were $99 to build a droid. Now they're going up to $119, so they're going up $20 as well. And the problem with them is they are plastic. And there's only 4 different parts to them, maybe 5.
Yeah.
Like the R2D2, you have the body, then the legs, the head, and then the little pieces. Do you snap the little pieces in the front, like the little?
Yep.
So you can do each leg separately. So, and the little tilt leg down in the front, I think that's a separate one also. So
Yeah.
you have the 3 different legs, the body, and the head. So you really have 5 different pieces. And even like I saw a lot of people walking around with the heads. There was like the purple and blue style, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I saw a second one, and then a third one. I thought somebody put all those colors together, but the head came that way with the purple and blue already built into it. And I was like, oh, so you're really not really designing much, you know, like you're picking 5 different pieces off of a conveyor belt. And I know my kids would blow through that in like 5 minutes. Like Cameron would grab 5 pieces and she'd be like, I'm done. And I'm like, this is $125 now, and you did it in 10 seconds.
Also, I'm very indecisive, so it might take me 6 minutes.
It might take you. There you go.
So throw in an extra couple minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But like Ryan, you when we were on I forget what show we were on. Oh, when we were on Supreme Resort together.
Yeah.
You were saying you even like aged them and stuff after you got home, so you made them look really cool and really like weathered and stuff. So that makes it cooler when you do customize them like that later on.
Yeah. There's so for the droids, there's technically now 3 series you can build.
Okay.
Because they added C series.
Okay.
Which the C series, that's like Chopper. Which actually I think uses the same heads as the R series, if I remember correctly. If
it's just instead of the round one, it's got the flat chopper head instead. But you can,
and so you choose from 3 series. You choose from 4 different bodies, and then I think it's like 15 different heads are available. So there is a lot there, but also it's only a few things, and it's definitely a downgrade in experience from Savi's. Like Savi's is kind of a ritualistic kind of thing, whereas like the Droid Depot is really cool. My wife actually loves it. She's actually why we built the second ones.
Okay.
But the idea is you're kind of picking up scrap droids and putting them together, and so it's kind of a hustle and bustle type of place.
Yeah. And it would be, if there was somebody there like really guiding you the way they guide you in Savi's, I think it would be like if there was, tour times just like there was for Savi's, even if it was every 10 minutes or something like that, but you had somebody going, Ray was just scouring the countryside and she pulled in all these pieces. So now we have some droid pieces here for you to, customize and build your own droid, and gave you like a little story that went along with it. I think it would definitely be a lot more fun. But when you're just like getting a ticket and they're like, okay, 27, you're next. And you just go over with a basket and you plop 5 pieces down into it. And you go over to the charging station and you plug everything together. It's not as immersive, I guess, as the lightsaber one is. But both of those, just like the park tickets apparently are going up as well. But so everything's going up in price.
Inflation?
Yeah.
Or just Disney?
I think because Disney's stock is down, so they're trying to make up for the billions of dollars that they still have. They want more billions. Yeah, I think it's just Disney going up. They just every couple years they say, well, look, we're going to raise the price again. So yeah, so that's that. That's a little disappointing. This one is this news is more for me than anybody else. But multiple retiring Lego Star Wars sets are selling out prematurely online or permanently online. Wow, I read the wrong word. Permanently online. So there's a whole bunch of Lego Star Wars sets that they're discontinuing. So if you want them, you got to get on board. The giant Yoda that sells for like $100 and whatever dollars. They're getting rid of that one.
Oh, dang.
Yep. The Boba Fett helmet that I have up on the top shelf way up there, they're getting rid of that. Oh, I lost my page. Darth Vader meditation chamber, they're getting rid of that. AT-AT versus Tauntaun micro figures, they're getting rid of that one. The Scout Trooper helmet, they're getting rid of that. And I've been saying in my head that I want to get all the helmets. Like it'll be a lot of fun to get all the helmets. So luckily Amazon still has the Scout Trooper helmet. So I picked one of those up before they're gone. Especially since I have the Mando. Oh, I have Boba Fett. Yes, I have Boba Fett, which is the other one that's gone away. Okay. Go ahead.
Are they getting rid of them to get new ones, or just getting rid of like budget cut wise?
Not really budget cut wise, but they just don't keep making sets all the time. Like,
Are they just not selling as much?
they're just because
creating scarcity and
creating scarcity and just like going through to come up with something else instead because they don't want their inventory to get stale. Because if everybody buys it, then they won't buy it anymore. The Imperial probe droid, which is pretty neat. I like that. It's kind of like the same size as the helmets. They're getting rid of that. The Imperial Armored Marauder, the Armorer's Mandalorian Forge, which is a small little set, and then the Armored Assault Tank, the AAT. They're getting rid of all of those. And then sometime in 2022, there's a lot more that are being retired as well. Razor Crest micro figures, Mandalorian Starfighter, which I'm going to get that one. That's his new little ship. I'm going to get that.
the like Naboo fighter thing.
Yeah. The Bad Batch attack shuttle, Duel on Mandalore, Imperial shuttle, Trouble on Tatooine, Resistance X-wing, Millennium Falcon microfighter, 501st Legion clone troopers, Imperial Star Destroyer, the $700 Imperial Star Destroyer. So get it now. I know you've been holding out. Better get it. Find your $700 for that and go ahead and grab that. I love that. I love the giant Millennium Falcon. I love the giant Death Star. But you need like a whole separate room to put those things in. Those things are so big.
Yeah, they're massive.
Like you have to build a coffee table around it because there's no other place to put it. It's like crazy. Yeah. And Defensive Hoth and the Command Station. So all of those Lego sets are going to be discontinued this year. So if you want any of them, get them now while they're hot.
Dang.
Yes. And then last but not least, and this is pretty exciting. We all know that the new Ahsoka series is coming up. And Thrawn has been rumored to be in the series. So everybody's questioning who could be Thrawn. There's all these theories as to who it could be. But it's funny. The one person that everybody keeps quoting is this guy, Christopher Mark. And he is verified on Twitter, but he's like a reporter that's verified. I thought he was actually a part of Disney or something like that. But he's just like a reporter. So I don't know the validity of this, where he got his information from. If it is true, it will be really cool.
Probably not.
Yeah, but Lars Mikkelsen, I'm probably saying his last name wrong, but he was the voice of Thrawn in Rebels, is the guy who's apparently been slated to play him in Ahsoka, which is pretty cool because he has a good skinny face like Thrawn does. And he already has the voice from Rebels. So it would be really, really cool if he plays him in live action too, because it would be a little awkward to have somebody else playing him, but then them dubbing over his voice the whole time. So this way it'll be all him all the time. So that's pretty exciting if that is true.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I'm trying to think if they've brought anyone else's voice to live action. Oh, wasn't the other the lady Mandalorian.
Yes.
Katie Sackhoff was the voice.
Yes, Katie Sackhoff is the voice, and she was the one who also played her in The Mandalorian as well. Bo-Katan.
Yes, Bo-Katan, and I
Yes.
have my picture with her.
There you go.
Yeah, right there. There's me.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
You're dressed up as an Ewok right next to Bo-Katan.
Yeah,
Very nice.
I forgot that was up there until
That's
literally
awesome.
2 seconds ago.
See, we're finding more and more out about Ryan. He's more and more famous as we speak.
Yeah.
Our viewership is going to quadruple now because of all this fame from having somebody so famous on our show all the time.
There you
That
go.
and Cameron being here is just drawing in thousands of people.
All the views.
All the views.
I'm very entertaining.
You are very entertaining. So
I have a lot of energy right now. So.
she sure does. All right. So that's it for my news. Did you do any or see any or hear anything there, Ryan, over the week? Not that
You did better than me. There's nothing that I've seen today or this week.
Excellent. All right. Cameron?
D23 happened? I don't know. That's like
Yeah, that was
Star
like
Wars, but-
weeks ago. We already talked
Okay.
about that.
Well,
gosh.
TikToks have just started coming out about it, so that's all I knew.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, but I saw someone and they were buying like exclusive like D23 like only products.
Oh, yeah. D20. Yeah.
They got like the not Star Wars, the Spider-Man figurine, but it's like only sold at D23.
Okay.
That one.
It was pretty cool.
And they got like a Captain Carter like real life shield
Oh, that's
made
fun.
out of vibranium. Just kidding. It was
Made out of real vibranium
Real vibranium.
from Wakanda. Yeah, I understand. That's awesome.
Really cool.
It was really cool. And she actually had her friend shoot at it, and she
Yeah.
stood behind it, and it,
Oh,
and it held up.
crazy.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense to me. I would do the same thing. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to go into a commercial break right before we talk all about episode 6 of Andor. And I thought it was a great episode, so I'm really excited to talk about it. So when we come back, spoiler alert, if you didn't watch it yet, watch it now during this commercial break, and then come back and bam, we'll tell you all about it. Are you sticking around?
Probably not.
Okay, so during the you can leave now. So go ahead and sign out.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
I'm tired. I'm going to bed.
Yep. All right. And peace out, Girl Scout. All right, and we're back. I love that from SNL. That old Nick and I would always do that. And we're back.
Yeah, we're back. I'm definitely gonna watch whatever show it is on Disney Plus or
Or Peacock.
Peacock that
Peacock.
they just showed us.
That they yes, that one. And I got the JCPenney commercial one time also that Eric was talking about. He said that one time there was a JCPenney commercial in between. I got that as well one time. It was pretty funny. So the Eye. That's the name of this episode. I have a question. Where's Bevo? The
Yeah, where's our emo B unit, whatever.
emo with a B emo, whatever it is. Where's he been? I'm guessing we're gonna see him again because we also haven't seen the hold on. Perrin Further, the guy who was fired and then went back with his mom last week. We didn't see him at all this week either. So I'm sure both of those are going to come back in the next 6 episodes. But right now we didn't see either of those. So I was like, where is this droid? Because the droid was really cool. He was fun. And I'm like, oh, there's merch all over that. Like,
Oh yeah.
Christmas time, everybody's going to have a red droid that bounces up and down and everything like that. It's going to be the next thing at Savi's workshop. Build your own droid and all that good stuff. But yep, so they weren't there. So after last week's debacle and not doing my share of the hard work on my own show, I made sure I took copious notes this time, Ryan. So you stop me anytime and throw in every 2 cents that you have. And don't be afraid to cut me off.
Sounds good.
because I have lots and lots of notes. So we open up Echo 1, and a little throwback to Echo Base from Hoth.
I
like
didn't think that, but that's
yeah. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. The opening scene, they're at the mountain. They're waiting for the eye. Clem and Nico have great conversation together about why they're actually here and what they're all doing. And, they really wanted you to love this character, Nico.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I loved Nemec.
Yeah.
Nemec.
I was saying it
Yeah.
wrong. I'm sorry. Yes. And
No,
Nemec.
you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
He's really awesome, and that conversation was really cool. I really liked. I think Andor said at one point, he's like, "Hey, the Empire doesn't play by the rules. Like,
No.
don't expect them to."
Mhm.
And it's because, and they don't care enough to learn from their mistakes.
No.
Which I thought was really cool. It's really setting the tone, and part of that is like saving George Lucas's crummy writing from like way back, right? Like, here's this bad empire that's bad at learning from their own mistakes, but
Yeah.
it's why they're bad at it, I guess.
Yeah, it's why they're bad at it, because they don't care to learn. They're like, nope, we're so good we don't need to. But yeah, between him telling them how bad and how stuck up and whatever the Empire is, and that they don't learn, then we get into scene 2 where Jay Hold, which is the commandant, is going on this long monologue about how dumb the Andoni are. I'm saying their name wrong again. The native.
I think they called them the Donnie.
Yeah, Adonis. Yes. How dumb they are and how easily they are to be persuaded into doing whatever they want them to do. And instead of the Empire trying to learn about all the cultures that they're taking over, they're just brainwashing them into doing what they want them to do. And one of the YouTubes that I was watching about, I said this is what the old British Empire would do when they would take over places. But I also it reminds me, we went to Cozumel, Mexico a couple years ago, and they had this giant big show all about how the Spaniards came and killed all the Aztecs that were living there originally. Anybody that didn't want to switch to Spanish and to Christianity, they would just kill them. So it was like, this seems like what we do generation after generation. We just go and do the same exact thing. So, so this isn't a new concept, to say the least. But he says they are building something big on their sacred grounds, which I don't know if we're going to see any more of this.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, because like obviously they didn't destroy the garrison, right? And we'll get there, but there's still some people we care about still on that planet. And
Cinta is still there.
Yep.
So we need to get her off of the planet.
But I will also say the inside man, I forget what his name was, the rebel who's working for the Empire.
I have it written down here. It starts with a G. Gorn.
Watching Gorn's reactions as like they talked through like all these horrible plans, and they were like, we have most people caring about the like small celebration in the city, because they kind of set this up last week where you found out that Gorn fell in love with a local woman, and so he's like endeared to the locals, right? He cares about the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And so just watching him, just like you can see him just seething with anger. Like, he can't show it, but there's little ticks where you're like,
when he's standing behind them where they can't see him, you just see the extra like the anger on his face.
Mm-hmm.
And in his body language and stuff like that. And that's the thing, like, you could tell that he cared. And I was even thinking that one or some of the people in this little rebel group of 7, that one of them at least were going to be from the planet. We're going to be one, like somehow a local, that whatever. And that's who I really thought that Nemec was going to be. We're going to find out that he grew up on this planet and all that stuff, and that's why he really wants to defeat these guys because they, took over his sacred ground and all that stuff. But yeah, there was a lot of talking of the sacred ground between him and the, they didn't call him an architect, whatever they called the other guy that got killed right away.
Oh,
But
yeah.
about how it's sacred ground and blah blah blah, and basically they're just going to annihilate this whole valley by the time they're done. So I don't know what they're building that's going to be that big, but they were talking about building something big in there. So then after that, we go back to the little rebel cell. They're getting their walkie-talkies all linked up, and they're struggling through that. But then they finally get the right signal, and it was cool, just showing like more old tech. And more of the ways that they're using old tech that the Empire doesn't know about or doesn't care about anymore, or even just ways to get around the Empire finding them.
Yeah, I thought it was really neat to kind of show us that, right? Like they started it last episode, but they kind of kept it up with
yeah,
kind of showing us how they're trying to skirt the Empire with their own tools.
yes, and then we see some of the soldiers are walking towards the pilgrims, and we find out at that point in time that Turmeric is a stormtrooper, and we didn't really find anything out about this guy. He was quiet the whole series, which is why I thought he was going to be the traitor, because we weren't getting into him at all, and they're just going to be like, nope, traitor. But we don't find anything, and then we find out that he's a stormtrooper, and it was once you knew that he was a stormtrooper. I don't know. I'd have to go back and rewatch all his mannerisms leading up to this, if he was acting this way the whole time, or if it was like just really emphasized in this episode. But once we found out, then you could definitely see everything he did was a lot straighter and a lot stiffer and a lot more stormtrooperish than it was before.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a soldier.
And I had to watch it a couple of times to really understand what Clem said in this, but he said, you should have been here when Cinta found out. And then he said they slaughtered her whole family. And it took me a second to understand what he was going at, because she was just referencing all the stormtroopers as a whole.
Oh,
Here's one here, like, I hate you because all the other stormtroopers killed my family. So I hate you in return for it, even though he at this point now has left the stormtroopers.
right.
So I was like, oh, that's okay. But it took me like 3 times, and I had to like watch it with captioning on to hear exactly what he said. So then we go back to a lot of like quick scenes in the first half here. There's a lot of like building up of Rebels doing this, Imperials doing this, the Pilgrims doing this, like where it's like boom, 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 boom. It was nonstop getting everything together. There wasn't any one long section. It was a lot of, A story, B story, C story, A story, B story, C story.
Yeah, it was definitely your stories colliding, and it was an action episode, right? And
yeah,
that's what it needed to be, was kind of getting the action going.
Yeah. So then we see the guards are walking in, and that's when Turmeric says to the rest of them, if they're from the garrison, we're from Alkenzi, and if they're from Alkenzi, we're from the garrison. And it was interesting because as they're doing this, I'm going, okay, they're trying to sneak in that way. I get it. It makes a lot of sense. But somebody's going to notice that nobody knows who these people are. And suddenly they're going to notice that we have extra people. And that's when a couple scenes later, you see like these 3 guys that are running down the dam. And they're like, nobody called us. They were supposed to call us. And I was like, oh, Gorn purposely didn't call them.
Right.
So that our people could sneak in as them and nobody would notice. So I thought that was pretty cool. And those 3 guys that were running were also the guards that we see outside of the girls who are hiding in that little clump of rocks there. And then you see these 3 guys walking down, and the one guy stops, and we see the first ever Disney person peeing on camera.
I
don't know.
that.
I didn't catch it at first either, but the guy who stops right in front of the window, he stops and he pees. as he's like talking, he's saying something, and I'm like, if you're peeing, I don't want to talk to you while you're peeing.
Just
Go,
do that.
just
Take
do
care of
that. You know, so I'm like, shut up and pee. So we got to see the first guy pee. So this show has shown a lot of first for Disney and Star Wars. The first
it
real
has.
curse. One of the people said the S word. Last week, one of the guards was smoking a cigarette while standing on top of the bridge, and now we see somebody peeing in Star Wars. So, and there was a kind of a sex scene in this also. I mean, we know that they're going to go have sex. We don't actually see anything.
Yeah.
In typical Disney fashion, they just closed the door and we're just to assume that they had sex. So a lot of firsts in this because this was a lot darker and a lot different than a normal Star Wars series, I think. I
Yes.
think it's and I think that's why I like it so much because I was saying with Nick before his wife went and had a baby that God darn it, him. That how like this is more of a war story than it is a Star Wars story. So it's pretty cool. So anything.
Yeah, I think this is like as much as like Return of the Jedi gets some flack for introducing the Ewoks because they're kid friendly and stuff.
Mhm.
Like this is the opposite side. Like
Yeah.
honestly, if they did this treatment, if they went back and remade Return of the Jedi or even Empire Strikes Back as like a grizzled war film, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like people would love it. And that's what this is delivering, right? This is a
Mhm.
grizzled war show in the Star Wars universe, which I think there's a lot of people that were pretty hungry for something like that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think I mean, really liked Mandalorian because it was different than what we saw before, but still Star Warsy. There's still a lot of Star Wars in it. Book of Boba Fett, it was good for what it was. I was a little disappointed. I wanted a little bit more, and I wanted a little less dad bod action, more like really, even if it was like a throwback Boba Fett to when we saw him during Empire. Like we don't need Timo Morrison doing it. We can have somebody else in there, who's the bounty hunter that is told by Darth Vader no vaporization type of that guy. So that would be pretty cool if we saw like the what did the young Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
If we had young Boba Fett.
Yeah.
But like this is like this really turns the corner for Star Wars where it is that gritty war film. So it's really, really cool that way. So the girls are like sitting in there and they're like, if they get any closer, we're shooting them. They were ready for it. But luckily the guy just peed and walked away. And then we go back to the Imperials and our good old friend Jay Hold is putting on his formal clothes. And I love this line when he was like, somebody didn't put this belt away the right way because it doesn't fit anymore. It got all. I'm like, how can a belt get crinkled so that it doesn't fit? Like, come on.
Yeah. I literally wrote down he's literally a fat cat. Like corporate fat cat.
Literally a fat cat. Yeah. They're showing it in the most literal way that the Empire is just becoming fat cats. And then Roboda is his wife, and his son was like Lenart. And Lenart was just like, he was just a whiny little kid. Like he's what you imagine like a rich kid to be like. Like, I don't want to do this. I just want to, whatever.
I don't know if it was on purpose, but it was interesting the way that family scene mirrored last episode when we saw Mon Mothma's family.
Yes.
Like obviously two separate sides of the conflict, two different parts of the world, right? But like it was very similar, which I thought was really interesting that they used that mirror.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that until you said it, but 100%. Like her kid was like, you don't even care about me, and this kid is like, I don't even want to be here. And but yeah, 100% a mirror of that. I do like that. And you can tell he doesn't want to be there. His wife doesn't want to be there. The kid definitely doesn't want to be there because all he ever does is talk about the Aldani and how awful they are and how stupid they are. And then he's like, "You said you want to get off this rock, so the only way that we can get off this planet is by putting on a good show for the not general for the other
The
guy,
commandant.
the commandant." Yeah, and it's like we put on a good show, then we'll finally be able to get off of here. And so I don't know. They don't want to be there, and this goes way back to when we first saw Aldani. Actually, it was the other planet before the planet that Clem was on before. The guards were like, nobody signed up to be here. This is just where we got stuck, type of a thing. And I feel Aldani's the same way, where they're like, the only good thing about being here is we get to see this light show, this amazing light show. You're gonna make us like at least let us see this light show. Like that's all we really care about. That's the only reason we're here is so that we can see this. So nobody wants to be there. And you can also see the way the attitude is of the soldiers, that they really have this like blasé attitude. Like we're winning. We beat these people down. We're doing what we can. We don't need, we're not 100% on board. So whatever.
Yeah, I think there's for sure an allegory there to lots of different armed forces across history, right? Where people join, you would think these people joined the Empire for good patriotism, right? Like
Right.
empirical patriotism, and now they're kind of stuck on a backwater planet and just kind of dealing with it. And I think it's interesting. I mean, Star Wars has always been a mirror of life. You can always tie it back, but yeah, it was really interesting. It's kind of cool to see what it's like to be on the backwater planets, like and see the fractured edges of the Empire, I guess. Because like the closest we get to that is like the troopers on Tatooine, but they're still troopers in the way that they're presenting. They're still like strong troopers, whereas these guys are kind of just like, I enlisted, I don't want to be here, I'm just trying to get on to the next assignment. Like,
I'm
let's just go.
trying to do my time and get off. And even like when they talked to Gorn, he said he's been here the longest and he was there for 7 years. So everybody that's been there has been there less than 7 years. You probably think 1 to 3 years, and then they're like, take me, you sign, I didn't know anything about the military. My cousin was in the Army for 20 years, and he was always talking about like his next assignment. Like he was like, I can't wait. Next one, I'm getting sent to Germany, and I'm going to Alaska, and these guys are like, oh, like your first assignment, like you're going to Aldoni. You're like, great, I'm going to. Let me know where this place is. Like I want to go to Coruscant. I want to go to Tatooine or, whatever, someplace fun, someplace shady, or not this backwater planet. So,
right.
And then Gorn has a fun dialogue with the Aldani king, whatever, the leader of the
leader.
Aldani. Yeah. He says, may the eyes stay open long enough to find some good within you. And Gorn is like, you just see Gorn like kind of smirk because he wants to be like, I'm trying, dude. Like, I'm on your side. Like, if there's anybody here, it's me. I'm on your side. So, but there's other people around, so he can't be like, I got you. I'm with you. I smell you.
Yeah.
But he wants to so bad. And then later on, Gorn says something very similar back when he's translating later on. So then we see the girls jump in the water when there's a light show so that nobody hears them splash. I guess that's the reason they were waiting for the lights to go up, or maybe also
so everybody's looking up.
Looking up so they don't see the waves in the water when they jump in. So that was I do like how thought out everything was, and everything was going great until they get to that one thing. And that's always the way that something happens. Like, I read the book and watched the movie, Black Hawk Down, when for everything was going great until it wasn't. And then once it wasn't, then everything went super bad. And luckily this didn't go super bad. But it did have its moments where everything was going so smoothly and then it wasn't. And I was like, oh no. And then Gorn makes the rebel squad escort the commandant and his family, which I thought was a very well planned out as well. Like, he was like, groups 1, 2, and 4, you're gonna stay down here and watch the locals. Group 3, you're gonna escort the commandant back up. And it was like they said, like they had it all thought out, and it was really well thought out. And so that was pretty good. And did you notice that they went left when they faced forward? It was left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand.
Yep, I did. They listened to the advice.
They listened to his advice. They sure did. So then we get back inside the office, and J-Hold is chilling out there with a bunch of other dignitaries and stuff. And he's talking about the goat hides that they trade for a 3-year lease and whatever. But once again, it was all just about how special the Empire was and how they're just doing all this stuff just because they have to. But it would be so much easier once they annihilate. And they don't want to kill everybody, because they need all of them to build whatever they're going to be building on their sacred ground. So they don't.
Right.
That's why they're not just annihilating everybody.
Yeah, and I the other thing I caught just before they headed inside, the Donnie said, "Our ghosts have strong hands." Or something like that.
Yeah, I have that.
Something like, "Hey, like we're coming for you."
Yeah.
And then Gorn purposefully mistranslated that.
Yes, I have that written down here. That's awesome.
Yeah,
tell them our ghosts have strong hands and long memories. And then Gorn says back to J-Hold that may the eye find the good in all of us. And I was like, that's not what he said. He said, if we know our ghosts are going to kill you, and they're going to haunt you, and they're going to be very bad. So don't do what you're going to do. So it was pretty funny when he said that, and he totally translated it wrong. So the girls linked the communications box on top of the tower. So it took me a second time of watching it. I'm like, why did they climb all the way up the bridge just to go back down again on the other side? I'm like, they could have just went around like everybody else did. But then I realized they were putting that communication box up there to block out the signals. Yeah. Then on the way down, to trade. He talks to the rebels, and he doesn't, and the commandant's talking to the rebels who are dressed up as soldiers, and he has no clue that they're not his people at all, which made me laugh. It was like a lot of going back to what he said, what Andor said in like the second episode, that they're so fat and so proud of themselves that they won't even know, they won't even think that we would be daring enough to impersonate them. And this is him like staring right at them, and has no clue that they're not even any of his soldiers.
Yep.
Then he clearly feels he says, let's make quick work of talking to the natives. He feels all this is below him, and he wants to get through it so that he can have his party with the office PPC, because the party planning committee already has a party. I always try to link in some kind of office reference somewhere. So this one's all about the office PPC. So so that's all he really cares about, is just having a party, watching the lights, and having a good time. So then we cut scene to the girls getting their part done. The boys are trying to contact them on the walkies, but they're delayed because of the girls had to wait for the one guy to run by. And then you see Vel. She's worried. She's like, or Vi, V-E-I, I think it is.
Vel.
Okay, yeah. So she's worried. Like she knows at this point, if I say let's go, something bad could happen. My friends could die. Mm-hmm. And I know that she has this like deepness in her heart right here. Like, I really want to do this. I know we have to do this, but I'm also afraid that if I do this, that something bad could happen. They could all sneak away right now and nobody would know any better. But if she says, let's go, then it's on. So she's very hesitant. And then Cynthia's like, let's go, say something. Let's go. So then they go, okay. She's like, let's go. And then it was a cool zip line of them jumping over the edge. That was pretty cool. Yeah. And then zip lining down. The imps and the Alkenzis, they trade hide. And that's when he says, our ghosts and all that good stuff. Now they were burning the wool. I was a little confused if they were burning the wool out of anger, like a big middle finger to the Imperials, or if that was part of their traditions. And I couldn't find anything that told me either way. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I read it as like hating the imps and like just being pissed off. But I had the same thought. I was like, it could also be a ritualistic thing that they burn the goat hide every year or whatever,
Yeah.
or every time the eye comes around. But yeah, it definitely. I read it as more of them being frustrated. Like that was pretty well established that the locals were frustrated. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's what it was.
Okay. That's what we're going with. So there we go. That's our story. We're sticking with it. So then at the top of the base, Gorn is getting anybody that doesn't need to be there out. He tells 2 more guards to go to the bottom of the hill, go down there, watch all the people down there. I don't want anybody coming up here. And I like how he covered his tracks every single time. Not like go party and have fun, but make sure nobody comes up here. We don't want any of those locals up here. So everybody go down and patrol down there. So I thought it was really smart. Get as many people away from the base as you can. Make it a lot easier for you to do what you have to do. So, great idea. Inside the base, in the outer room, J-Hold is still rambling about how much he hates their cultures, which reminds me a lot of Avatar as well. Like we talked about this is, in history, but Avatar, the movie Avatar was, I don't want to say based off of, but, everybody was like, oh, well, the Avatar, I forget what the actual planet was.
Pandora.
Yeah, and the natives on Pandora were what we would consider the Native Americans here when we came over in all of our ships and just like killed them all to take their land. That's exactly what we were doing in Pandora, was telling them do it our way or you're going to die. But the native people in Pandora were a little bit taller and a little bit stronger than they thought.
A little bit more blue.
A little bit more blue. That's right. So then as they're trying to bestow our way on another culture, when Cashin locks them in and hold them captive, and I thought it was great. He's like, what is going on here? Stop this. And he's like, no. And then, like he was just so full of himself that he thought there's no way that anybody would ever try and do something like this.
Right. His commands were enough to stop it.
Yeah.
He's the Imperial commander.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other guy, the architect guy, is Colonel Pendergrass or Colonel Pedigar. He's the guy. He then pulls out the gun, and I liked his idea, his thing. He was saying, save the boy, let the boy go. Like,
yeah, let the women and children go.
Yeah, let them go. It's fine. Keep us hostage, but let the boy go. And then Cinta comes down and shoots him. I was like, yeah, you go, girl. So she really does not like the Empire. And, we found out a little bit earlier that the stormtroopers slaughtered her whole family. So she's not going to play games with them. She's going to kill them if she has to.
Yep, but we almost lost Nemec right there.
Yeah. Yeah, we were like, no.
Almost got shot in the head.
And it was like, they just keep dangling this Nemec is going to die thing in front of us. Like, they make him so lovable, and like you want him to be around, that that he's too nice. We're like, oh no, this isn't going to be good.
Yep.
So then yeah, they're like, oh, is this when he dies? Nope. Thank goodness. So then we don't lose him then. So then as the one shot happens, you see Gorn outside, and he kind of like flinches a little bit, and another soldier is like, is everything okay? He's like, yep, go ahead, get down to the bottom of the hill. And then they go inside, and the stormtrooper guy slaps the crap out of I just had his name. Darn it. It's 2 words. J-Hold.
Yep.
And it slaps the crap out of J-Hold. And I was like, oh, yeah, I like that slap. But it was just like, it was, one of those typical slap the bad guy type tropes, I guess. And then then we know. Okay. And then they say, one path, one choice. We win or everybody dies. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. Good saying. I was like, all right. And
yeah, Vel had some good lines between that and then I think what you're about to get to, like showing the rebels' morals.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
just, like, we're
Because
not going to kill anyone.
yeah, because she says all we need is your hand. We can take it with or without you. And then she says later on, like, I'm gonna like, we don't want to kill you. And he's like, yes, you will. You're gonna kill us anyway. And she was like, why? Because that's what you would do. That's not what we would do. Like, we just want what we want. We don't want you to kill us. Like, we don't want you. We don't want to kill you. We just want to take your gold. That's all we want. So
Yep.
if you agree with us, if you follow along and do what we say, you'll live. But then I was also thinking, like, knowing Palpatine and Darth Vader and stuff, and Darth Vader's around at this time. So, like, if I was them, I would almost be like, it doesn't matter if you save us, we're going to get killed. Like,
Yeah.
Palpatine, Vader, anybody above, they're going to kill us anyway because we let all this gold go. So just put us out of our misery now. They're going to torture us and choke us and all that other nonsense. So
At least we can die in battle instead of
yeah,
getting tortured.
instead of getting tortured. So the elevator, then they get in the elevator, they go downstairs. We see the jamming signal go into effect. And then the operator, this guy is the guy that they didn't account for. The one thing they didn't account for is an operator who's not going to just go, oh, it doesn't work, I'm just going to watch the light show. He's trying every single old switch that they could find. He's flipping switches, pushing buttons, turning dials. He's trying to do everything that he can to get the signal back up to no avail. So he's all confused. Then the elevator opens and they're downstairs. And this is when the guy comes out with a green drink. And he's like, sir, would you like a drink? Like, and it was just so funny that, they all have no clue, and why would they? Because it's been a nice, quiet, hostile takeover so far. Like, they haven't had to kill and shoot a lot of things or anything like that. So they get downstairs and the guy's like, oh, good, the party can start. And it's like, nope, put down, put your hands behind your back and all that good stuff. So I was happy that through the beginning of this, they only killed one person, and that's because that guy pulled out his gun also. So it was a lot of just capture and release later on.
Yep.
So it was working very, very well. And then back inside, everybody's tied up except for J-Hold. And she said, this is when Vale says, if you do anything, if you do anything, his family will die. He says he will kill us anyway. She says, nope. She says, that's not what we would do. That's only because that's what you would do. And then that's when we see who Vale is shacking up with.
Yep.
Because she puts her hand on Cinta's hand and they give each other a little look and we go, oh, that's who she's shacking up with. There we go. And then we get back up on top again and the operator is talking to another soldier and he's like, did your comms go out? He's like, yeah. And then this is what was funny. The only line that's open is the Alkenzi line. Everything else is fried. And the other guy goes, must be the eye. And I'm like, yes, because the eye can systematically knock out 4 different comm systems, but leave one on.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that has nothing to do with it with an electrical storm. It would knock everything out.
Right.
So then they're getting closer to the vault now. The soldiers inside, they're playing cards. Now, somebody said it was sabacc, but the cards that they were lining up were much smaller than sabacc cards.
Yeah, they didn't look like sabacc cards. I need to go back and watch. I didn't catch because they said some phrases, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like sabacc, full sabacc,
No.
like it wasn't describing a sabacc hand.
No, not at all. And I have sabacc, and we tried to teach people how to play sabacc on the show a long time ago. And those cards did not look anything like a sabacc card whatsoever. So I don't know what they were playing, but it looked cool. And it was funny that it was like, once again, like these guys are, maybe they were done their shift and they were just like, whatever. But it was funny that they were all just sitting there. And I really like how they were like, attention on deck, commanders on the deck. And they all stood up. It looked like when they first came walking in that they were actually, just normal soldiers coming in. And then they line them up so that they could tie them up. And they said, they tell them, if you work fast for the next 10 minutes, you won't die. And then as they're saying that, J-Hold's shouting to all of them, they already killed somebody. They're going to kill us all and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, shut up. And it was neat seeing all the rolls of gold, all
Yes.
their coins and everything like that. And then I also enjoyed watching J-Hold doing all the work. And his fatness starting to sweat and be angry and whatever. Because you could tell he hasn't done any manual labor in quite some time.
Yep.
So that was pretty funny. And then Valley won. Then Cinta turns off all the lights. And Ryan Airy from Screen Crush said that Star Wars does a lot of things with light and dark. And the light side, the dark side. Kylo Ren, when he's about to kill Han Solo, beforehand he has a light on his face and a dark light on his face, and then the light goes behind a cloud or something, so then he's just all dark and red, and that's when he kills Han Solo. And this was the same thing. Like, all the lights were on, they turned the lights off, and they even put the fire out all at the same time. And they did it, for the light show to show up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Synth is the one that turned the lights off. So it was kind of like a combination of for the light show and also so that they could finish doing what they had to do.
Yeah. I will say the like locals like celebratory dance made for such a cool background. They kept cutting kind of back to it between scenes. And it helped the action feel a lot faster, I feel like.
Yeah, it definitely helped move it along more and get it more intense and get you more like into it. So it definitely was really, really cool. And then Gorn, the commander's like, "You're gonna hang for this," and he said, "7 years serving you, I deserve worse than that."
I loved that line.
Yeah, that's a great line. And then they the TIE fighters start coming in. Somehow somebody tipped off to the TIE fighters that something bad is happening. Maybe it was the commander up on top, but I don't know.
Because he heard enough, like there was kind of speckles through and
Right.
enough got through where he knew that they were in the vault.
And the other thing, like, if there's anything I know about communication is don't say anything that you don't want somebody else to hear.
Yeah.
So they should have been speaking in some sort of a code the whole time so that he wouldn't be able to put together. We're in the vault.
Yeah.
We have it. We're taking all of the money. Like,
we are scraping the vault.
So I was like, whatever. But yeah, so, and then here's my question for you, because I don't actually know the answer to this, and I haven't done any research on it. Every single ship, almost every ship in Star Wars, when it flies past, it has like jet engines or engines coming out of the back, except for TIE fighters.
Yes, so TIE in TIE Fighter is actually an acronym. If I can look it up, I will tell you exactly what it is.
Tell us.
Twin ion engines. So I got really nerdy about this at one point, and I only remember so much of it. But the gist of it is they are not like jet powered, but they're more like magnetic force powered. And that's why they're able to turn so quickly, because they can kind of their engines let them maneuver a little bit more quickly. And yeah, it's not a jet, it's like ions moving around and that kind of thing.
Okay. Because I was like, wait a minute. And I know like George Lucas didn't think of this in 1977 when he first made these. Like, people are going to question me how these things move around in space. They just do, like he's not going to, whatever. But of course, 50 years later now, people are like, how does this happen? Like, we need to know, everything has to actually work in real life. So, so just so thank you for knowing the answer to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny one for me to know.
Yes.
But yeah, it is. I thought it was weird, and it's always weird to me when TIE fighters are in atmosphere, because there's no way those wings would work.
Right,
Like
exactly.
one gust of wind and they'd be
Uh-huh.
turned
And then
over.
yeah, and there's no like even with like helicopters have the back rotor to keep it from spinning around in circles. So the same thing, like it needs something to stabilize it. Those two straight lines aren't going to be stabilizing anything at all. So yeah, and like you said, a strong gust of wind from the side, like it's just. I have a Jeep, and the Jeep goes through wind like a brick. That thing would be even worse. It's like trying to just get a sheet of 2x4 or a sheet of plywood to go sideways through a storm. Like, yeah, no way. So
Exactly.
yeah, that is pretty funny. Yeah, so then we see the people load into the TIE fighters, which is always fun to see because they are so tall. Like this trying to, explains how they get in. And we saw in maybe Rogue One or something else where they were like stacked up on a wall inside of
Oh,
one of
yeah.
the hangar bays so they could climb up the ladders and go in that way. So it was pretty cool. There's a couple different ways of how people get into the TIE fighters. So then they get into the TIE fighters, and then we're back down in the vault. And this is when the new guards come because the communications guy realizes that something bad is happening. So he gets more guards to come with him. And then I really liked, they crossed all their T's and dotted all their I's. Like they weren't shocked for anything. They had everything worked out. If somebody comes in, what do we do? And he said, "This is a classified mission. You're not cleared to be here." And then he's like, "Commander, tell him." And then you just see J-Hold, and he just looks really, really bad. And then he just collapses. Like he worked so hard for the first time in 20 years that he had a heart attack. And it just and then it was like, "Oh, he had a heart attack. You must be bad guy. So now I'm going to start shooting you."
Yep.
And then that's when the firefight starts and everybody's shooting everybody. Tarman, the stormtrooper guy, he goes out in a blaze of glory. I was impressed. I thought he was going to maybe turn, but he didn't. He was the one that I picked to be the person that would turn on them. But he went running across to try and help out. Vale was like stuck behind something.
Yeah, pinned down.
So he went to try and help her, and he got shot. And so now he's done. He's the first one that we lose. And then Cashin almost dies. He's almost gets choked out in the ship. But then this is pretty cool because Nemec shoots that guy without shooting Clem. So that was a good deal.
Yeah, nice shot. We knew that was what was so weird to me. Like, there's no tension for Cashin.
No, not at all. Like Nick and I talked during like Mandalorian or Boba Fett, like they have plot armor.
Yes.
And so Cashin totally has plot armor because we know he's going to be in the movie 5 years later.
Right.
So
we know exactly how he dies.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, okay, he's going to get out of it somehow. Like, and that's the only downfall to it is, for the next 24 episodes or the total of 24 episodes that we're not going to lose Cashin at all.
Yeah.
So it's not a Game of Thrones type of thing where anybody can die at any time. Cashin's not. I'm telling you right now, you're not going to see him die because we already saw him die. So it's like, that is a little disappointing. And I did want to talk about that. So I'm happy you brought it up also. I wasn't the only one that was like, but it doesn't matter because he's not going to die, And then, so then we do see the Polaroid camera again. That comes back out again. And then the ship was set on the track. And then, they load up what they could in the amount of time that they had. And then they're like, all right, let's get out of here. Especially since these bad guys were now shooting everybody. Everybody gets onto the ship except for Tarman, who we lost. And then he shoots, takes the ship. The ship takes off on the track, and it takes off at such a burst of speed that everybody goes flying backwards. And Nemec gets trapped in gold. And it was interesting that on one of the other shows they said, he didn't get shot by the Empire, but he got killed by the Empire money. Like that's what actually wound up killing him was the actual gold from the Empire. And Nemec is the only one that knows where to go. Like,
yeah.
I think it was only because I guess that Polaroid camera was the one that told us where to go. So
Yeah,
that's
he
why-
was the only one trained enough to know how
Yeah.
to use the
Yeah.
Polaroid.
But you have to have backups. Just remember that. So he should have shown somebody else how to do it just in case. And then this scene was weird to me. Val was like, keep him still, keep him still. I'm like, when she went to jab him in the chest with the adrenaline, basically what it would have been, but he wasn't moving, he wasn't flailing around, like he was like, I can't feel my legs, like he wasn't. So the fact that she was so adamant of keeping him still, he was just laying there. Like,
Yeah.
he couldn't have been any more still, I was like, okay, that didn't make any sense. But anyhow,
I do have to own up for being wrong about a prediction. It was
Okay.
the ship was mounted.
yes,
Last
it was
week,
mounted.
I guessed that it was not going to be.
Yeah, and it was. So we did miss out on that one. And I was wrong also. I thought for sure that Tyriman was going to turn on him, and he didn't. So,
0 for 2.
0 for 2.
But we guessed Nemec, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, we did say that he was going to die. So we're 1 for 3. So yeah. So then they give him a shot of adrenaline. He gets up, and I was funny when he was like, pull up, and Clem was like, what did you give him? Like,
Yeah.
does he see what's above us? I can't pull up. And he's like, pull up. Which was also in Andor later on, the droid says the same thing. What was the big droid's name? I forget what his name was.
Oh, in Rogue One.
In Rogue One, yeah.
K2.
Yeah, K2SO. He says the same thing. He's pull up. So it was pretty funny that they said the same thing. So then you see they're flying through all the lights, and the lights are pretty cool. I really like the lights.
I thought so too. I actually wrote down that the eye was legitimately beautiful, and they did a really good job of the CGI with that.
It reminded me a little bit of Thor's planet when they shoot the bridge out, like the rainbow bridge type of thing.
Yeah,
that they walk on, like it was very colorful like that. Now this was a different type, but it was still very colorful, just like that rainbow bridge is.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. The CGI was really good. The definitely way better than our Northern Lights are. So I was very impressed, and it was also much better done than the Swoop Gang speeder bike Vespa.
Little faster than the Vespas.
A little faster than the Vespas. So then everybody escapes, but now we see that Nemec is not doing well, and this is when Skeen says she doesn't want to save his life. She wants to just go back. And Cassian's like, what are you talking about? And he says, we have a built-in plan to go to a doctor if somebody gets hurt. So then Cassian is the one who's like, let's go. We're going to the doctor.
Yep.
So you can see he's getting more and more invested, and he cares more until they get to the doctor. And then not that he has a change of heart per se, but I think he was forced into thinking a slightly different way after that. So then the kid's on the medical table, and the doctor, who looks like Maz Kanata, is healing him or working on him. And the forearm look was cool.
It makes sense that a doctor would benefit from having forearms.
Yeah, most definitely, because you can hold more tools in your hand and cut people open with whatever. So it was a neat look, and it was interesting how they didn't just have all four arms coming from the side. It almost looked like a kid was standing in front of an adult, and like they had a sheet over their head, but then the kid's hands were coming out of the front, so there were two hands coming out of the front and then two hands coming out of the side. So it was an interesting look. I don't know if I'm sure everybody would love to have four hands. Would you love to have two extra arms?
Yeah, a couple extra arms. Yeah.
You can hold more things, Think of all the things you could bring back from the grocery store. You now have four hands. You don't have to do it in one trip. You don't have to do it in multiple trips.
And I'd be even better at impersonating Grievous.
Yes, exactly. You would have to go buy 2 more lightsabers, though. You'd have all 4 of them spinning around. So then this is where I thought the show was going to end, when Skeen and Andor are talking. And Skeen is like, how much money do you think's on there? It's probably 80 million. We could split it, just you and I, but I need a pilot, so that's why I need you. And then it was like, this was the moment that, I thought, like I said, I thought the other guy was going to be the traitor. I was very disappointed to see that it was Skeen who was the traitor. And he wasn't like an Imperial traitor. He was like and he even said it for himself. He's like, I am a rebel. I'm a rebel of one. All I care about is myself.
Yep.
And I was like, okay. And then, he said, well, what about your brother? And he said, I have no brother. So I took it like the whole story was fake. But then other people on the internet are like, well, maybe he means he doesn't have a brother anymore. And he's just even more angry. But I don't think that's what he meant by it. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think ultimately I took it as like, I don't have a brother anymore. But I also think like ultimately for him, so he mentioned like he's inspired by being pissed off at the Empire.
Right.
And it's not necessarily the best motivations, right? It's not like Vel who's like, I want to change the world or change the galaxy.
Yes.
And so like he got his punch in on the Empire. I don't know that he has the buy-in anymore. He's like, cool, I got my punch in. I'm done.
I stole all their money.
Exactly. I stole a bunch of money. I can take off. I can go live on a moon somewhere peacefully for the rest of my days.
Yeah. Like I don't need to continue this rebellion. I just want to make sure that I did something against them. They're now $80 million in the hole or 80 million credits in the hole from where they were. So that's my job. I'm done.
Yeah.
So it's a shame because he was actually coming around to me, but then if we find out that his whole backstory, he just made it all up to get in with them, then it's like, okay, then I really don't care about you at all. But I cared about the character that you were. Right. It was almost like the typical, the boy, teen movie where his friend bets him $20 to turn this girl around and get this girl to fall in love with him. And then, but it was only for a bet, but I really did fall in love with you. Like, that's what I wanted. Right. I wanted him to really fall in love with the Republic, with the rebellion. But he didn't. And then Cassian is like, oh, well, if that's the way you are, then I'm going to kill you because that's what I do to people. Like he did to the spy when we saw him in the movie who was like hurt and he knew the guy was going to rat him out because he was hurt and he wasn't going to be able to handle the torture. So he killed him. So the same thing. He's like, oh, you're not the person I thought you were. You're a turd. I'm going to kill you. I'm not even giving you any more opportunity to work your way out of this. And then Clem goes back in and he says, I just want my money. Here's the Kyber crystal. I don't want it. Give it back to your friend. Give me the money that I was promised and I'm out of here. I'm going to give you $30,000, 30,000 credits for that ship that's only worth 15,000 credits. And I'm going to take the other 170,000 credits and I'm going to go live on my own. And then of course she says, oh, but you have to take the manifesto. I don't want it. Take it. Yeah. He wants you to take it. So, it's gonna be sitting on the dashboard,
right?
And he's gonna open it up. He's gonna read like 3 pages, and he's gonna do a 180 and follow back to the base, and then he's gonna help them form the rebellion
and eventually steal the plans to the Death Star.
Eventually steal the plans to the Death Star, but who's to say what could happen in the future? And that's where like I wanted the episode to end.
I did too. I thought like that would have been a really good ending, and like don't get me wrong, I like the stuff that we're about to get to.
Yeah,
it was the ending, and I think this is two episodes at least now, because last season or last episode did this too, where there's like these weird tags that are kind of unnecessary, and they don't build tension necessarily.
No.
And I feel like they could have been elsewhere.
Yeah, it could have been like the start of next episode. Like
Mhm.
because-
Maybe the last tag, which we'll get to in a bit. Maybe that one belongs, but
yeah.
yeah, because then we go to
'Cause
the Empire base, right?
Yeah, we go to the ISP building, and the guy's having an emergency meeting of all the imps. Major Petraza says, "I want every," and I had to write down every single word that they said because I have such a hard time understanding Star Wars language by like
Mm,
the formal people that even in like episodes 1, 2, and 3 of the movies when they're talking about the Senate and the corruption and the uh traffic lanes and this and that. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're even talking about.
yeah.
So I had to write it down word by word and then read it over slowly so that I understood what he was saying. But he says, I want every star sector and planetary emergency retaliation plan in the building ready for presentation by midnight. So basically, he wants everybody who is in charge of all the different sectors to get their PowerPoint displays out and tell us what all our backup plans are because the rebels have started attacking.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, okay. Like now, I don't have the girl's name. Hold on. It's right. But Deidre was the one the past 2 episodes where she was like, they're up to something, and everybody's like, shut up, you're a woman, you don't know what you're talking about. So now she's like, told you so.
See, I told you.
You should have listened to me. So we have that clip, and then right from there, boom, it goes right into Mon Mothma, and she says Senator Drow's proposal is both tempting and timely, far more reasoned and thoughtful than the calls for decree where we've been hearing from the other side. And you see that the pods are empty.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of people there. And I thought that this was like with our good old American democracy when people just don't show up to certain votes. They just don't care. I thought that's what this was, but other
Then
people
are getting whispers. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the people that are there are getting whispers, but they're saying that when we saw the Senate in the movies in episodes 1 and 2, how the Senate was so important, but now that the Empire is taking over or has taken over, the Senate is less and less important because they're actually not able to make any decisions anymore because the Empire is just making all the decisions for them. So they're like senators with really no power. So they're kind of like the royal family of today, where they're just there in name more than actually being able to do anything because the Empire is not letting them do anything.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, they're just kind of, and it makes sense that Mon Mothma is still there, right?
Right.
Because she's a faithful
politician.
public servant.
Yeah, faithful public servant, and she's really trying to do something good. And then she says there will be a fact-finding commission put in place this session, and it will prove that this is a boot to the throat of all Gamorreans. Gamorreans, not Gamorreans. That
Pig
would be
people.
Marvel. Yeah, so that was going back to 2 episodes ago when she was talking to her husband about how the Empire has put the travel ban or whatever it was on the shipping lanes and is starving everybody out. The shipping lanes they cut off 2 episodes back. And then she realizes nobody now, the people that are left, nobody's listening to her. So then she grabs her datapad, to see why everybody is leaving. And then she also reads about the heist. And then she's like, oh, because that's got to be what it is, because she gives a look like shock, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I guess she didn't know, like Luther didn't tell her what the plans were, but I think Luther just told her that things were in action.
Yeah. I don't think he specifically told her, but it was definitely like a knowing look, I guess I would say.
Yeah,
from her at the end there.
Yeah, and then so the Gamorreans is also referenced in Rebels. So when she's in Rebels, she talks about that, and that's when the Rebels have to save her, because the Palpatine then puts a price on her head and says that if this is what you're doing, you are an enemy of the Empire. So then that's when the Rebels pick her up, and then they take her, and then that's when she becomes the leader of the rebellion. So I thought that was pretty cool that they tied that in to the Rebels, which then ties that into Mon Mothma being in the rebellion. And it also it was her voice in Rebels as well. So there's another one where it was her voice in Rebels, and then she was in this, and she was also in
Rogue One.
Rogue One, yes. So I like that they kept it all together. And then with the very last cutscene was fun, where Luther is there and he's talking to the lady about the language. It's an inscription in a language no one remembers. And he says, so you can make up whatever it was. So that was, I didn't write it down. I thought I wrote it down. Darn it. But that was in reference to one of the battles from the Clone Wars cartoon. And Darth Maul's brother, like annihilates.
Savage or
Savage.
Yes,
yeah. He like annihilates like everybody on a planet, and that was the planet that he like annihilated everybody on, or whatever. So that was a reference back to that. So that was pretty cool. And then that other guy's just sitting there. I don't know. He must have been with the lady who was like looking for jewelry. Like, I don't know if he was
a driver
or whatever, but he was like, have anything from Aldani? And he was like, oh, I might have something in the back. Why? And he goes, oh, apparently a rebel cell just did something big there. And then Luther goes, oh, let me go check in the back. And he goes into the back, and then he just like starts. He doesn't even like giggle a little bit. Like he's like,
yeah, he's really excited.
He's really excited. He's like, yes, they did it. And then his assistant, in typical stoic fashion, she doesn't say anything, doesn't smirk or anything. So I don't know if she's a traitor or what the deal is with her, but every time that he has brought up something about the rebellion, she's been very like stern-faced about it. So it'll be interesting to see if she has anything. It'll be interesting to see also that Deidre girl and the rest of the Imperial now people, Lieutenant Supervisor Blevin, that guy who's like her arch nemesis in the Imperial forces, if they now have to work together. I'm happy this happened in this episode, and they didn't stretch it out any longer.
Yeah, because I think like, because we're a quarter of the way through the story at this point, right? Like,
yeah, because it's 24 episodes total.
Yeah,
12 this year. So
I like that we saw like Cashin getting on his first like rebel action this early. There's a lot of things to keep pulling on. We got to find out why Cashin's looking for his sister. He's seemingly still looking for his sister. I don't know if there's more to tell about like his home planet or not, or his life before the series.
Yeah, I don't know either, because I mean, I think other than looking for his sister and maybe the other young kids that were on that planet, maybe we can find them somewhere again. But I think that was just like a backstory to introduce that we're missing the sister type of thing.
Right.
So it'll be interesting if we find out that she's like in the Empire, like if she's high Imperial somehow, like she got like an Imperial ship landed and like kidnapped all the kids and then turned them into soldiers, and she winds up being like a high ranking Imperial officer somehow.
Yeah, that'd be pretty wild.
Yeah, and he's like, "You're my sister," and she's like, "But I have the high ground." So yeah,
I thought this was a really good episode. It was really exciting and really good.
And it does. This episode is what sparks the new rebellion, because without this 80 million in credits, they wouldn't be able to afford to buy any of the ships or anything that they have, or any way to actually start piecing all of these little pockets together into one giant rebellion. Now they have the money to put everything together. So that's really exciting, because that's where this is going to go next. Is now we have the money, so Mon Mothma can be the leader of this rebellion. So the history moment right here, we were able to see how it all started, literally right here at this in this heist. This is the first big one. So yeah, so I liked it. Oh, I love your shirt. I'll never.
Thanks. Never tell Los Angeles the odds.
That's pretty funny. So yeah, so it was a great episode. I don't know. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else?
No, yeah, I agree. I think it was a really good episode. I'm really excited for where we're going to continue. I think 2 weeks out, we start to actually get 2 Star Wars things happening at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Um,
that's when the Jedi stories, the Jedi Chronicles,
Tales of the Jedi.
Tales of the Jedi, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
that'll be fun.
yeah.
What did you think of the Bad Batch?
I like the Bad Batch. I think it's I I always have been really curious about the time where like you have clones there at the same time as conscripts,
Uh-huh.
and I think that's a really cool era to tell a story in. The story's okay. I I don't know if I came to expect more because of Clone Wars. Like Clone Wars told really good stories.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like Bad Batch maybe told a more basic story, not as like
Yeah.
interesting.
And I because like Nick and I we started doing like breakdowns of the shows, but like we even stopped that like 4 episodes in because Nick stopped watching it. It was slower, and I even went back and tried to rewatch it. I've rewatched Rebels maybe 2 or 3 times. I really enjoyed Rebels. I really enjoyed Clone Wars once it got into the second or the third season, when they realized what they were going to do with Clone Wars. I really enjoyed that. And I liked Bad Batch. I watched it all the way through, but when I tried watching it the second time, I'm like, this would be better if it was in like 1.5 speed. Like if you
Yeah.
just sped it up a little bit, it would be so much better. So, but I did like the concept of them all being mutants, clone mutants. So I'm excited for season 2. Hopefully season 2 goes a little bit faster than season 1. Not, the stories go faster, and there's a little bit more to them.
Right. Hopefully they kind of spent the time in season 1 to set the groundwork and all those little pieces, so that season 2 they can kind of get going
with it. Yeah, because that comes out in like February. So we are coming up to a whole bunch of new Star Wars stuff coming through. So it will be really exciting. So yeah, so I'm excited with the Jedi stories. Should be pretty cool, because there's going to see some different Jedis, and for all the kids out there that want to see lightsabers, we're going to see lots of them.
and we'll
So
get to see Yaddle in canon.
In canon, Yaddle will be back, not just a mention of her. So she'll be there. So that'll be pretty cool. So all right. I don't think we need to belabor this point any longer.
Sounds good.
It
It's late on your side of the country.
It is late. I didn't realize what time it was. I was having so much fun talking about this episode. I didn't realize what time it was. But yeah, it was a great episode. So definitely check it out if you didn't, especially after, we tried to butcher it, but enjoy it, because it was a really, really good show. So I definitely think you should go check out this episode, and especially for Star Wars people, because it does give you how the rebellion begins, which is really awesome. So that being said, from all of us here at Bantha Podcast, and for Nick, who's giving a baby a bottle or something like that, who knows? I am Rob. That is not Rob. That is Ryan over there. Yes. And we have spoken. There we go. I hit stop, but it didn't work. Now
Someday I'll get that lined up for you. If you keep asking me on, I'll get lined up on the We Have Spoken.
That's it. No, that was perfect because I always do it after Nick says it. So